Stay up here.
There's a party having a full maybe they know they need the CPU for encoding.
Okay, good. So, Seal, we'll get started?
I started.
Started already? Okay.
Excellent.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Robert Zalotic. I'm one of the partners at Adaptech Solutions, who are the sort of organizers of the DDD, CQRS, and ES-Meetup. This is what we call Vancouver's sort of only hardcore engineering meetup, where we help the community learn best practices around building event streams and event stream-oriented microservices. I want to thank Media Ballet, first of all, for hosting us today. They've done an awesome job. There's delicious food, great beer, and so thank you so much to Media Ballet. Johnny Herman's going to introduce Sergey in a minute, but we do have, one of the great things we have is that we have a JetBrains license that we give away every couple of weeks. We have two licenses a month to give away, so Adaptech CEO Adam Dimitruk is going to do the draw.
Yeah, so after we'll see who stays till the end. We'll see who's around. And then the one lucky person will walk away with a license. So
great, awesome.
Enjoy.
And Johnny Herman from Media Ballet is now going to say a few words and introduce Sergey.
Thank you very much. Yes, so I am Johnny Herman. So I'm Dev Manager here at Media Ballet, and I've had the pleasure of working with Sergey actually before for about 5 years in total, not here, but previously. And every time I talk with him, the conversation is ever more intellectually stimulating, and you can never learn enough from this man. So I'm very happy to have him doing the presentation today. A little bit of housekeeping, just so you know. So the food and refreshments were in the other room. Washrooms are outside in the hallway here. There's one separated for women, and there's single ones for men. 2 emergency exits if we need them for whatever reason. There's one directly out the door here to the left, another one down the hallway by the other elevator, okay? So stairways down to the street. And I think, so the presentation itself is going to be about 45 minutes. If you have an urgent question, you can ask it, but there'll be time for Q&A at the end. But there's a lot of content to cover, so if we can just keep the thing rolling, that's good, but if it's urgent, go ahead and ask it. Other than that, Sergey, take it away.
Yeah, so it's real pleasure to see faces that I used to work with, and it's I was excited to see people where, Vancouver is really small, right? You bump into people you know pretty often. So, some time ago I worked at TSO, and I left for personal reasons, nothing related with work. And I got back in the market in 2 months, and I never imagined that I would bump into cloud, actually. Even though I'm a DDD guy, it's just like, you ask the guys who work at TSO, yeah, you talk to me, you talk to DDD. It's like past, right? So, and when I came to Media Ballet, it is cloud-based. Everything we do, in the cloud. And that's how the journey started. Because they hired me as a senior engineer, now I'm a senior architect, software architect, to see how can we do better, be in cloud. Okay? So since you all DDDers here, because you weren't here off of that, so a little bit of icebreakers. Let me show me hands. Who read the blue book? Seriously?
Why? It didn't help.
Okay. Who read the red book? Yeah. Who read the green book? There might be people who do read because they make it too. And who read the black book? That's what I thought. The there was a black book. So I'll show you that. And another question for you, who read blue and red book. How the red book fixes the blue book? Fixes.
Called samples.
It's a conceptual problem was that Eric Evans stated in one of the courses that, you know, the domain-driven design consists of two parts, strategic DDD and tactical DDD. He put tactical first, strategic after. Red book, flip it over, which is right DDD. And that's where we start. So we start from the domain. Okay. It's not a typo. Distributed domain-driven design in a hyperscale cloud. And specifically hyperscale because I target Amazon, Google, and Microsoft that have physical blades of servers around 1 million. So those are called, like we call hyperscale clouds. Not the Oracle cloud, not the SAP cloud, not the cloud under your desk. It's hyperscale cloud, because that's where things start to matter. Okay? So, conceptual integrity, because we all love DDD. We all love the way of thinking about DDD, and how actually we build software using that philosophy. But when we move to the cloud, what do we do? How do we create those entities? What is an aggregate? Because when we're in the cloud, we're in the wild. So we have to be careful what we do. Okay, so the talk, 4 parts. I'll try to be really quick. Questions you will ask later. Any questions you want, please. Ask questions. Why DDD? Reasons and insights. Reality is distributed, reactive, never consistent. Actor model, blast from the past. And characteristic, basic characteristic, because so much to cover with actor model, but I want to give you a taste of it. So you have the taste buds. Why DDD? Reason and insights. The question is, why do we create software? Why do we do that? Why do we create the code? Why do we create those instructions that tell the computer what to do? To help us to deal with the reality that our brains are not fast enough for or able to cope with. And that's basically what code is for, and software is for. It helps us. So when we create a working software, right? We create a working software. What is working software? Working software is not an end goal. Even though we like it, we cherish it, we hate it when we have to throw it away. It's a means to a further end. And what is the further end? Of solving problems out there. Because it helps us to solve the problems in a reality. So it's a source and means to solve the problem in that reality. It ends up there. Software is just a means for that. And if that's the case, we have to model. So we all know these experiences as a child, as children, right? We all have models of everything possible. Like as kids, you know, these big guns, you know, these houses we build. When we grow up, we build planes. Why? Because first we saw the bird that flies and doesn't fall on the ground. We want to do the same. So we model after that. And when we grow up smarter, we create AI. And A is for a reason there. It stands for artificial, which means there's something real there and we just try to mimic it. So it still points to reality. So we have to model that. So we have to model the reality. So our models are abstractions. An abstraction never abstract and never model the reality as is. It's always the level of abstraction you actually found it, right? So, and as Eric Evans says in our presentation, one of the presentations, so any model is a model. So there's no bad model, there's no good model. There's a better model, but any model, because you try to model the reality, it's a model. And also, it is the way to find or secure certainty. When did you see last time the Hawkins branch of the universe? Because it works, it never fails. Those big guns, those houses we built because we saw that something that the house doesn't fall on the ground and we try to mimic it. Because we root our models in reality. So we never see the universe failing. However, software does. Everybody knows that, right? That's great. So my point here is that domain-driven design is a philosophy. I always like to point out that when we read a book, we must read the preface, which we skip over and over. Why? Because in the preface, the author sets his point. And he says why he does what he does, and why he writes what he writes. So if you read the Blue Book preface, you will find a lot of good information there. It's all on one page. And you will understand why. So, it's not an invention. Absolutely not. It's not a framework. It's not something that Eric Evans came up with. It's a breakthrough of insights. Who read the Blue Book? Breakthrough. It's half of the book. The whole chapter about breakthroughs. It's a very fascinating chapter because this is exactly how DDD itself came about. It feeds itself. Insights in the software design domain. You can apply DDD to itself. And it's self-proven. I was amazed when I see articles, pros and cons of domain-driven design. Just like, seriously? Because we're so hung up on the practices and pattern that we see there, that we do not see the wood behind the trees. Clarity creates the potential for a breakthrough of insights. That's from that chapter. Clarity comes through refinement, from the same chapter. Refinement stems from assimilation of knowledge. And knowledge is acquired by learning. Learning what? The reality. I like this so much. Mark Burgess, read the guy. The Brainwork, I'd read it. It's a very good author, and his mathematician, physicist, computer scientist, all the same. Assets of knowledge is not knowledge of assets. If you don't know something and you don't know how to do it, it doesn't mean it doesn't exist. It's there, just didn't find it. That's why the crunch of knowledge and the breakthrough that what we have to crave for when we model. This is a good example of it. This is how we saw Pluto in 1996. Was Pluto that? Or that at the time? Obviously it was that. But we didn't have enough information. That's what our model. Then 2005. And then 2015. So, reality. We established the point that domain-driven design stems from it. Actually, it emerged from learning domain of software design. And when we build software about the problem that we're solving in the real world. So what is the real world? Reality. Distributed, reactive, never consistent. Unless you didn't notice. So I'll add this example from the book I'm reading right now about a cup of coffee on the table. In order to grab the coffee, or let's say for example this bottle on the table, what do? I have to see it. I have to position it, right? I have to determine the position that I see it because the photons reflected from it, the surface. It goes to my eye, my brain processes it, gives a signal to all other parts of my body, and I go and I reach it. That. A lot of things went on. I was really abstracting that to that short number of sentences. But little delays happened that in this specific context didn't matter at all. Because the scope was, irrelevant. Or the scope was big enough so we didn't see that. But when things go massive and fast, those delays matter. Try to catch the cup that's falling off the table. It's pretty hard. But if you have multiple cups falling off the table, you will not be able to catch them, not spilling coffee. The point is here, what I'm trying to make, is that speed of light has an upper bound on everything we do. On any causality, it has a bound. And that's basically what caused Carl Kuhn to come up with the idea of after model. So many models in computer science, they base on the mathematical models, right? Except this is based on physics. So two agents can see the bottle at the same time. Who closes it faster, first, further, later. But those experiences are absolutely valid and legitimate. And that's what actually spawned the idea about actor model. It's actually after physics. And when we look into the world that surrounds us, we see it all over. In a micro world, cells communicate with each other via messages carried by hormones. In the macro world, this is how we communicate. We always communicate with out-of-date information, all the time. It's stale. I see you later. When you scale it up to the size of the Earth, globe, where our data centers are all around, that thing matters. There is nothing in our world that we experience synchronously, ever. We like that. Because we want what? We want certainty, we want stability. Everybody freeze, I want to do my insert. It doesn't work that way. So reality is asynchronous. So everything in the world is being experienced in an asynchronous manner. Why do we put so much effort to build a software that is synchronous? Why do we not actually follow the real world, the thing that we're about to model, and create software that models exactly that? That's my question. And I like this statement. The concept of any global clock is not meaningful in the context of a distributed system of self-contained parallel agents. There is no such thing. There is no global clock that you synchronize against. And again, the title of the presentation was Cloud, Hyperscale Cloud. How many minutes light comes from sun to the earth? 8 minutes. It's pretty delayed. The user will be actually frustrated, pissed off when you don't show the web page you want to see in 8 minutes. Right? But instead, base our software on that and model the reality, we want to do this. We want to stop, freeze the world when I want to do what I want to do. When I'm done, I'm happy, I'm freeze. It's all good, but it's not real. So when we move to a cloud, we have to be aware of that. You cannot build software in the cloud all the way. Because distances matter. Speed of light matter at that time. So the whole thinking should shift. Absolutely shift. And that's what we do at Medieval A. And that's why it's exciting. And I forgot to tell you that it's actually a journey. We started that. It's a journey. It's not that it's all set in stone now, do this. No. But it's an exciting journey. It's pretty cool. So, at the bottom, 1973, blast from the past. So Carl Hewitt, along with his buddies, they proposed the approach and model to solve these problems. 1973. So think about it. Many of you were not born yet. So I was 4 years old. So it's fascinating when you think about it. Well, these people are ahead of time. It's like it absolutely blows my mind when I read this. So it is inspired by physics, but actually, in fact, by Einstein theory. And this is my favorite. I want you to read it. I will read it for you. And just think about it. In recent years, there has been a shift from centralized serial computing systems to the distributed parallel computing network. There are many driving forces behind this shift. The geographical distribution of information, sources and sinks, requirements for faster response, cheaper small computers, replacement of paper shuffling, the digital message switching, greater system reliability, and so on. 1977. 1977, I got goosebumps. Because these people thought about those problems that they could not even reproduce in the reality. There was no computers at the time. And to show you, so at the time of Hewitt, at 1973, the clock speed was less than 1 megahertz of a processor. These are later, 1982, 286. These x86 architectures, 286. This is the power they consume, and this is speed clock. Clock speed. Clock rate, megahertz. And as you see, it goes all the way to 2004, when we were ahead. Every year actually was giving us either 25 or 50% increase, because we could do things faster. And then something happened. This happened. It was so hard to control that we had to do what? We had to split. 4, 2, that's when it started. Because that was not anymore proficient viable to actually produce, because it cannot contain. So basically at that time, we went out. We started to spread. And that time started to spread into the cloud. And that's where the cloud started. So basically we started to model reality with our compute power. I call it, anybody knows the Conway's law? That you create, software will end up architected as your organization is structured, right? I call it the hardware Conway's law, because eventually that's what it became. It became distributed as the world distributed and compartmentalized, and we have a cloud right now. So we went wild. And as they say, you know, we're not in Kansas anymore. This is pretty wild out there. And that's where actors come in. So what are the actors? Actor is a universal primitive of computation. That's what actor is. It does things. And they're expanded. Yes, they are. Because actors actually, it's all about concurrency and parallelism to the max. That's what actors are all about. Actors are the universal primitives of computation. That's what it is. Messaging is the only way of communication. The only way of communication. That's exactly how the real world operates. We operate on messages. And as a response to a message, actor can do only a few things. It can make local decisions. It can create more actors. Can send more messages. And the last but not least, actor determines how to respond to the next message. This is three fundamentals of actor model. There is nothing more. And that's what's beautiful about it. As E equal mc squared is so simple, but the whole universe runs on it, so is this. This is based on physics. So, that's this is what actors are. And I will dive into each of those points with deeper but still basic characteristics. So we have more time for Q&A and stuff like that. Okay, so actors, basic characteristics. Communication. Communication happens only via direct messages. Actor 1 knows the address of actor 2. Knowledge is paramount. Actor cannot send the message to an actor because actor communicates only with actors. It's universal primitive. Remember, everything is an actor. Everything is an actor. So it has to know about the actor 2. Direct sending. Direct. Point-to-point channel. Who read the Enterprise Architecture Patterns book? Red book. Yes. Point-to-point channel. It's a known thing, right? That's what it is all about. So it's point-to-point. You know the address 1, address 2. Nobody else can actually do it. So A2 receives, actor 2 receives it on a separate thread. Multi-threading or one-threadedness is not a requirement, which is basically how we implement in it now. But it's not a requirement theoretically. So you may have an actor that does computation and processes the message multi-threaded. Just if it speeds up the process, fine. But the idea is, so yeah, and the mailbox is a layer of indirection. So basically you send message to an address. So mailbox of an actor. You can build and that's a concept that exists in actor model in of itself. So that's about communication. Now, actors are state machines. Why? Because it's about physics. Everything in this world has a state. Even the electrons, when they move from one orbit to the other, they change state. You don't see them actually traveling across. Usually it pops up on a different orbit. It just pops up in different state. So same thing here. So actors are state machines. They implement finite state machine. And actor modifies its behavior in preparation for future message. So I'll show the diagram later a little bit more with it, what it does when it receives the message. So, but it receives the message, processes it, prepares new behavior, finish. Okay? And when it creates a new behavior of itself, it becomes another actor. And this word becomes is actually original from the source. That's how they. So actor becomes another actor. So it changes the behavior. Share, nothing. Absolutely nothing. There is no such thing as shared after memory or whatever state. Actors do not share their mutable state with any other actor, or for that matter, with any other component. For that matter, they absolutely encapsulate. Which gave us lock-free concurrency. That's the bliss. Work with multi-threaded. Actor receives only one message at a time, one at a time. No need for locking at all, because nobody ever gonna intercept that. So CPU cores are used only for the throughput, not switching content between thread and instruction. And this is my favorite. This is original from 1986 book, but by Gul Akkad, How Actor Behaves. So every actor has a mail key, messages. This is the behavior, what they call actor machine. That's called behavior. So it just behaves the way it does. It receives the message and it processes according to its behavior. It codes one message at a time and does three things that we're talking about. It can create, this is creating messages. So sending message to another actor. In actor model, they call tasks, but it's irrelevant here. So it can create other actors, which, as you see, mail queue, behavior. And calculates the replacement behavior. It becomes another actor, which then pulls the next message. And that's it. This allows high level of concurrency in parallelism. Nothing to synchronize, there is no shared state whatsoever. You can scale behavior out as much as you can. Scaling state harder, but it's possible. So that's what actually the whole actor model is all about, to provide the model for high concurrency and parallelism. So yes, parallelism. Concurrency versus parallelism. I read a good definition some time ago, and it helped me to see the difference, and I thought helpful too. So basically the concurrency is the potential for parallelism. And they say that parallelism always has end goal to converge to. Concurrency basically independent. That's very helpful in actor model when you think this way about concurrency and parallelism. So parallelism always converges to the common goal. Okay? And process management and workflows are natural. I started to do the process managers at TSO when we power controlling blades, when it was long running process. And retries and failures, we do it again. That's what we start to do there. So it's natural in after model to do the process managers. Okay. Actors come in system, as anything in the world is. Societies, molecules, planets, galaxies, they all come in systems. Nothing is ever alone. So actors too. So one actor is no actor. Actor comes in system from the office. One actor gives no parallelism, obviously. And any problem can be solved by adding yet another actor. And I'm done. This is references. I have a lot, but that's what I would recommend to start from. Yeah, but there's a lot. Interesting stuff out there. But yeah, this guy's still alive, and it's a very good YouTube video. You can watch and talk Microsoft about it. and Gulaka. He got his PhD under him, so 1986 book, very good one. And this is the black book, guys. Blue, red, green. This is the black book. Van Vernon. He's a core DDD guy, as you probably know, and he loves aftermarket. And I shouldn't state it twice. This is a paramount source of information when you deal with messages. This is place to go when you have a problem, how to solve it. And please study physics, biology, intelligent agents. Read a lot. I want to point out, I on purpose didn't talk about entities, aggregates, aggregate truths, value objects, repositories, you name it, bounding context, ACLs, and all that stuff. On purpose, because this is for Q&A. Because this is a primitive platform of primitives that you can build anything on top. So I left it. Yeah. So
That's great. So that read a lot part, the longer you know Sergey, the more you'll know he'll have a book for you. That's here for you to read. And I definitely, we've all, at our company, we definitely have all these on our bookshelf. So this obviously is got multiple topics, multiple branches of topics. There's no way we could possibly have gone into the depth of those. Every one of those slides could be talking on itself, which Sergey may hopefully will present in the future. But we wanted to stimulate conversation and Q&A. So there's plenty of time now. People want to ask questions and say, whoa, what did you just say?
Can you repeat the question?
And we'll repeat the questions, as they come in. So, questions?
Sergey, can I start? So, here at Media Valley, you've done a lot of work in event sourcing and CQRS and so on. I just wonder if you could maybe share with us how your DDD has informed your use of...
I knew there was.
Oh, come on. Oh, no.
Where's CQRS? Where's the S?
No.
Just a
little bit of background.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So the thing is, I give a little bit of my history, right? A little bit, just a short brief. So I worked at P&I for 5 years, no, many years. Anyway, so and at the end, when I left P&I, I stumbled over the blue book. And I couldn't swallow it. It's just so freaking dry. It's just, how in the world could I possibly read that? So, and then something clicked and I swallowed it in 1 week. It's all about clicking. It's all about dot connecting. And hence my journey started with DDD, and then I came to TSO. And that's when I started to really push it, right? And it doesn't come easy. Because as anything, like actor model will not come easy. As CQRS will not come easy. As event sourcing, you need help with that. So basically, as soon as I started to deal with DDD and in depth, then I came across an interview of Eric Evans, who was interviewing Greg Young. He was at that time young. And free, yeah. So, and that's when it caught me with event sourcing. And it did make sense because of the domain events, the concept that is so there. And it did make sense because aggregate is all about transactional consistency. Entity is all about identity. So that's how it led actually in CQRS and ES. And due to some circumstances, I working now at Media Valley, where I was given by wonderful CTO the carte blanche. Hey guys, we have Azure Stack. You want a service bus? Have it. You want table server? Have it. You know, anything you want, grab it. It's a resource. I mean, you have to think about money. Yeah, but in terms of opportunities, it just exploded. And we started to, and then actor model came. That's what John said. Sergey, Everything is an actor, you know that. Why don't you try? And we did. I was against it. I was scared of that. Hell. But when I read it, again, click. I don't want to hear anything else. So, and because of nature of actor model, message-based, even a sourcing comes natural. Actor cannot, it's just there, right? CQRS is just separation of concerns. It's a solid, asking a solid principle on that scope, of that abstraction. Why do you need to deal with the writes the same way with reads? Separate them. Separation of concerns. Absolutely isolate them. So that's how it came to be. So basically we're doing, at Medieval A, we created our own framework because unfortunately, the service fabric actors are not these actors. Okay? So we build our own abstraction on top of it to make them these actors. And we use service fabric and build our software using actor model. As well as our actors are event sourced, and we use CQRS to split writes from reads, to unload.
So a question, so how long from the time that you started, you were first exposed to DDD, how long until now? So your
DDD is 2000.
12 years when it first introduced. Is that when you got exposed to it?
2014, we got a course with Eric Evans. That was, probably 2013, 2012. Yeah, 12, yeah. So basically it's 5 years.
Yeah.
But it's really,
It's accelerating now.
It's accelerating now.
So, good. Other questions?
Yeah.
Questions?
Because coming and go to DTV or DTV to check the DDD, but you check the DDD, what the D stand for?
Yes.
Distributed domain-driven design.
Distributed domain.
You can argue about that with Greg.
Yeah, you can argue about that.
This is the funny thing, I was commenting against that on the first slide, and Greg's answer to that was, it's a trick question. You pick which D stands for distributed, because it makes that acronym mean entirely different things.
Yeah. So the point here,
What's he getting at? It's cap theory stuff, right?
Yeah, exactly. So we can talk about cap theory, yes. But the thing is,
Well, who's heard of cap theorem?
yeah, cap.
Who understand it? Who could come up here and explain it?
So the point for me, the slide was to make a point. And if you saw the subtitle, is that to preserve conceptual integrity when you move from non-cloud to the cloud. You want to be domain-driven because domain-driven design is a philosophy. It's not a framework. It's the way you think, it's the way you reason about the software. And now you come to the cloud where the speed of light matters. The whole freaking thing is distributed. Hence the point. And of course, as any abbreviation, we can argue about it as much time as we want.
So here's one thing, in terms of you're on Azure, and so the competitors to Azure, Google, you have things like, Clutch from Google, where it gives you consistency, it basically gives you CP and things like that across the board, where you can actually ignore part of the cap theorem. How does your experience with Azure, where that's not possible, compare, or where could you use that, especially on things like read models?
So when you talk about cap, so it's always a choice. At Amazon, every team is given a choice to choose 2 out of 3. And they have to follow it because of their domain requires that, right? So in our domain,
Well, you really have a choice.
oh, yeah, exactly. So because when you're in the cloud, the P out of question. You partition, period, right? So it's either you choose C or A. Some cases, consistency is paramount. And again, consistency is a really, really broad term. What do you mean by consistency? As I argued, there's no such thing as consistency, like one global clock. I like how Bonaire says, they use protocol, guess, apologize, compensate. That's it, because this is how the world operates. And when we start to build something that is not that, sooner or later we'll have a problem. So here we choose availability most of the time.
Here being immutability.
Immutability. So consistency, eventually, consistency. So, but again, every case is different. Some things in our, let's say in our software, or some parts of our software, we do make consistency prevalent, and we do block. Wait a minute, I'll make sure it's there. And but again, it's all about feedback. It's about communication you intend to a user. It's all about that. So, yeah.
Other questions? Question back there, yes.
How many actors, types, or forms do you have in your system?
How many actor types of forms we have in our system? So again, actor is really, okay guys, we have a video on the channel 9 where we talk in detail, Jean and I were talking in detail about how actor model maps to domain-driven design. So that's, so to answer that question, actor is really good mapping to entity. So basically, if you're in domain-driven design and you try to model, you create your bounding context. So you try to define a language, ubiquitous language. You start to define those things, and it depends on domain. I mean, in our case, it's not that many. Probably doesn't, but that's what our model is. You know, number of types doesn't. You know, it's not the measurement for your model. So it's what you have, what you have.
So it's like asking how many states do you...
No, not states.
No, but I mean like the question is quite similar.
No,
If actor changes its state,
No.
like next...
Actor type is different from actor behavior. Actor type, let's say, okay,
yeah.
we are in the domain, digital asset management domain. We deal with assets, images, videos. For us, asset is an actor. Asset can have multiple behaviors. Those state machine, right? So behaviors are not. So asset is an actor. So type of actors, I believe that's what you're asking, right? Yeah. So we have, yeah, it doesn't in our system.
How many?
I mean, I can count, but I am under
counting.
NDA program. Yeah, in counting. And remember, in actor model, everything is an actor. I mean, ideally, yes. But in the service fabric implementation, sometimes there is some challenges.
What are those challenges for actor?
Actor type in the service fabric is it's a separate executable. It's a process. Every actor type that you instantiate in a fabric takes 50 mega RAM, give or take. Actor instances of that type, those are threads of that actor type. So if I create, we were battling that with Microsoft Redmond about why in the world that limitation? Why? Well, that's, yeah. They got their actor model from Orleans. Virtual actors. So they turned that into virtual actors. They call it, no, that's not an actor, these are virtual actors. We had a big debate about it, why in the world we call them actors now. Anyway, but yes, those are limitations about the memory footprint. Also, if you make your actor persistent, means it actually replicates state across at least 3 nodes. That serialization comes into play. How you serialize. Native serialization of Microsoft is crappy, so you have to be really careful about that. So many things like that. Yeah.
Do you have your own consensus algorithm you have to do yourself?
Yeah, a lot of things. As I mentioned, we build our own framework.
Or access or what?
NDA. We created our we created one thing I tell you. We created our own framework. So we call it canonical actor. We code against canonical actor, which is ours, which is abstraction on top of the actors of service fabric.
Yeah. Go ahead.
Yes.
No, I mean, like, have you open sourced?
Sorry?
No.
Have you open sourced?
Open sourced it? No, not yet.
No.
We've talked about that.
Yeah.
Sean is going to make a decision at some point. The CTO will make a
John
decision.
said no.
It's a very good point. I just want to point out, it's a very good point about the fact that we have a canonical actor abstraction and actors in general. First of all, how many people are blown away by this content? How many people are like, whoosh, or good chunks of it? Okay. Would it surprise you to know that we've hired interns, and in 7 weeks they were able to produce working software at Media Ballet against the actor model?
It is true, yeah.
And the reason for that is because the conceptual integrity, which is what we're trying to emphasize here, allows the engineer to stay above that level of abstraction, so you don't have to get into all that nitty-gritty locking and all the groups of bugs that come from it, right? So you're deadlocking, race conditions, all that stuff. You're not pushing about it.
Well, I was kind of asking the same. Are you going to open source your, or not open source, but at least offer it for others going on satisfactory based on that?
Well,
The joke was if you watch Channel 9's episode and just slow it down very slowly, you can sort of see what we did.
yeah, we were asking about that code. The code, yes, but that code was actually slammed overnight, actually working code from scratch.
Into the Azure Marketplace, right?
Yeah, well, we were asking.
Yeah.
we were
Long term, I
asking.
think the idea is to
Maybe,
go
yes.
down that path. But it's
Long
just
term it is. There are still some challenges that we have with the virtual actor framework that Microsoft offered. We have made some recommendations they actually implemented, right? So we're still waiting for them to actually bring it in, and then maybe.
And you still, and you have to understand, Service Fabric is really young. So a lot of things are in flux and basically it's going, but it's,
Another question I had about the actor model, typically Scala ACA people, this is something that we've had a lot of people come in from that world to the meetup over the year or so. And one of the things that I challenged them was to see you make a automated spec based on given when then for events, commands, and subsequent events. The challenge with the actor model came on Scala and ACA by having to stand up something that was async from scratch. So the actor model forced the Scala ACA programmers to really do asynchronous programming and sit there for quite a long time to make sure that they have listeners set up, etc., for things that are working with the actor model. How have you dealt with that?
So the initial setup, it takes time to actually, for them to work or like what was the challenge?
Well, in working with asynchronous stuff, if you have a model, you're going to have to set up endpoints of some sort to listen for outcomes, etc., in a messaging thing.
Yeah.
And one of the reasons that we shied away from actor models is to not force async when you're specifying, because the functions themselves express the business logic, and forcing an actor model to the business logic is premature.
Okay, the point here is that, again, when we create a software, and software is distributed across multiple nodes,
Why?
sooner or later,
Why does it need to be distributed right away?
no, if it's not, don't do this.
But should you change your business logic as you scale?
No, business logic has nothing to do with it. When I'm trying, the actor model, the purpose of it is to actually provide concurrency, high-level concurrency, which any other thing will not be able to do. Why? Because they have to share either state somehow, they have to synchronize between each other, which actor model does not do at all. So which means, like
You're saying that the actor model is the only way to do it?
I'm not saying the only way to do it.
Okay.
I'm saying that if you go across the globe and you create software that is distributed, highly distributed, so you have problems with the speed of light. That's what I was trying to emphasize. So you cannot neglect delays. You cannot neglect failures. You cannot neglect anything. Everything just comes at you because you're in the wild.
the actor model was, I think, about what the mapping there, and the video talks a lot about this, about the mapping there actually is what helps maintain the conceptual integrity across from the domain all the way to the code. The crux of your question seemed to be almost like your test suite will never complete, or it's just not possible to run a test suite simply because of the asynchronous nature of every single test.
Possible, it's just really heavy and unnecessary.
Very late.
No, I mean, okay, what is the goal then? If your goal...
Specify correctness first and then scale.
Yeah, scale. At the point of scale, will the solution scale? How far it scale without actually breaking?
To me, it's about synchronizing event streams and consensus algorithms.
But you don't have to synchronize anything. In actor model, every actor is an island. It doesn't. It just message in, message out. Period. There's no.
So I guess let's reverse the question. So how would, and we've done some of this, but not. I don't want to get into it. But so if we want to do given when then, or we want to do like acceptance tests against a system, and we want to have automated, say, continuous, delivery, how do we ensure that the asynchronous stuff fits in with these test suites that have to run?
Well, what we do with our acceptance test, we basically create suites and pollers, and we wait for things to finish. And we put the caps on the timing, if you do care about the timing. So the whole suite becomes like a system test. As well as, if you want to test specific actor, we test not the actor, but its behavior. Like, when actor gets this message, behavior does this, period.
Yes, even at that point,
Yes.
Scala actor solutions, there was still a lot of upfront work to require. Even when you're talking about that
But
level,
when we talk about this is stateless thing, almost stateless, I would say. Yeah, but behavior. Behavior has certain things that it has to do based on each message coming in. You just test that, and it's done.
Are you doing F# or C#?
No, we don't. We don't do F#, we do C#. We are the service fabric. So basically, service fabric is C# for now. Yeah.
Question?
I think, my question is kind of clarified, because I also was curious if one of the characteristics you said about actors model is that they don't share the state, and also like one actor is not an actor kind of, so like you need a system of them. And I found that like in business and like business analysts and all the stuff, they like to talk about kind of system state and how different like domain events kind of change that state. And hence I kind of understand Adam's question, but like you want to verify that you build kind of right system. So my question is, if they don't share the state, like, and each actor has its own state and behavior or whatnot, like what is the system state then? Looks like no one knows the system state. And for acceptance testing and kind of just business justification of whatnot, that we build what you paid for kind of, so we need to provide a way to show that system does what it does. It changes its state.
Yes.
Yeah, something
When you
like
say
that.
system does what it does,
Can you please repeat the question? I think-
oh, that's a long question.
Yeah, sorry. I mean,
So-
like, yeah, you have to don't change the
let me
state,
tell
what the system state.
Because you're talking about a system, and you're talking about state of something somewhere. You're talking ubiquitous language. You're talking about, you're not concrete to a specific domain, but you're talking about the language that business people understand. Those terms are actors. So if let's say, okay, for example, in our system we have such process as annotation, which is multi-step process. And remember, actor comes in systems, right? There are a lot more to actors than what we're talking about here, but actor comes in systems, so there are process managers natural to it. In that enterprise integration pattern, there's a design pattern, process manager. When you have multiple steps, then something has to control that. That's your actor, that's your broker. Control the staff that are actors too. So it's a higher level of abstraction from those steps that knows about that, what has to finish when and how and when. Timeout and all that retries, this is your concept. You have higher level of abstraction, someone else is interested in that. This system is hierarchies of actors.
Maybe what can be clear to people that are looking at this from the CQRS quite a bit is really show how the actor model plays in scaling the transactional side, i.e., look at common things like get event store and the odd number of nodes that are needed to increase from 3 to 5 to 7 for different levels of availability and scaling the transactional side. You're looking at things like Paxos and Raft to say that yes, I have an actor model that's working on entities, but because I'm globally distributed, I'm going to have eventual consistency issues when two different endpoints are trying to interact, two different representations of the same entity.
What do you mean two different representations of the same entity? What do you mean by that?
Well, you're going to have to scale the transactional side, which means you're going to have to have multiple storage points of, not just for availability, but also for redundancy if there's a failure.
You have transactional, what do you mean by that?
There's two sides to CQRS, the right side and the read side. I go the right side.
Yeah, okay. So if actor process message one at a time, before it actually gives it away, it persisted. It's encapsulated inside the persistence as well. So you deal with the compute, which is behavior inside the actor, you can scale it out. You can scale out the persistence of the actor that's still under the same transactional boundary here inside. So you don't leave, you see, you calculate this after you've done already. So this means that you finished, including your state is updated, everything is done. And then you provide this next behavior, ready to receive this message.
Yeah.
So
now if you scale that, you have two representations and possibly two conflicting things, two actors that don't know about one another.
So you mean that if actor actually scales out, but the behavior is stateless?
I agree.
So,
I didn't say it's not.
Yeah, what I'm trying to say.
You have redundancy where things have to live more than once because if something fails, you want high availability to continue to process transactions. So one of your three nodes goes offline, you still have the other two.
I lost the question. Like, what exactly is the question like?
Scaling actors and scaling their state. That's the right side. There's two different. There's the traditional ways of scaling solutions on the read sets, federation, and all that stuff they have on CQRS or other relational databases. The way to scale the right side is through consensus algorithms, right? So what is the implication in the actor model for scaling the right side? That's my question.
On actor model has nothing to do with it. Actor model is an abstraction paradigm. It's like, what is the scaling application on entity? It's the same question.
Are we talking about split brain here? Split brain problems?
If that's a word for something else that I'm familiar with, maybe.
Yeah, like you don't have consensus, so which sides?
Yeah.
Actors are right.
Yeah. Eventually you're going to have a problem.
Yeah, but the thing is,
where
it's not about actor model. Actor model has nothing to do with it. It's about implementation of it. So what we're talking about is complete encapsulation of actor as an island. That's how world operates, right? That's the whole idea. Is if I say the problem with entity or with DDD, because aggregates cannot do that. It's a wrong statement because aggregate is an abstractional concept that you implement.
So maybe something more practical here that might help then is how do we take the fact that we're using, we have our canonical actor abstraction on top of Azure's actor model, right? Their own actor assisted virtual actors and reliable actors, whatever to call them. How does one scale in that environment, which is the environment EMeetup Ballet lives in?
So
let's start with that.
Or even multi-cloud. If you want to be redundant, then you have to have your stuff good.
Ben, if you're talking multi-cloud here, so there's a question of scope here. And of course, problems in the scope we have versus scope that in the future, absolutely different. I understand that. But the point here, what I'm trying to make, is that this view of the world is actually one-to-one how everything is operating.
Sure.
Means there is a solution to it, because world is not falling apart. Somehow it does operate. So it's just a matter of us zooming in and solving the problem.
Right. So a lot of times in event sourcing, we abstract state change in a function over your command and previous events to give you the next set of events. That is kind of like a state machine way.
I'm not familiar with that. Sorry.
What's that?
I'm not familiar with that.
But that's kind of the state pattern or whatever, which is it's pretty much how the actors.
Functional model of state changes, right? You want to do a command that
I cannot speak to that because I'm not familiar with that. So I can speak state changes here, but because I want to be familiar with what you're talking
Are
about.
you familiar with event sourcing?
Yes, sir. What was that question about?
Adam, I think what you asked about like a transactional thing and then I think it's like up to framework where it places to guarantee the order of the messages and like
what we're missing here, I think, is that glue between scaling of how you make state changes available to the world, because you have to have representation for redundancy. And yes, the actor model is below that, but since
Actor models is above
Actually, it's
that.
above that, actually.
It's above that.
Okay.
Yeah.
So actor model uses event sourcing as a persistent way to persist the state, which is the actor model is superior, is on top of that.
And we should be careful. There's different kinds of state we should talk about here too. Like there's the restore from disaster kind of state, and then there's like CQRS separating your content from
So
reading, right?
it's like talking about entity, and yes, how to persist entity, it's state. Yes, we use event sourcing. The same with actor model. Whatever the platform provides, we do it.
The actors themselves, their own state is the reliable actor. Internally, it has its
I don't want to be pestering, but I mean, the whole group has sort of been taught this for over a year in terms of traditional CQRS functional representation sometimes of this. That's why I'm just asking it to be difficult. For a lot of these people, they're having the same question.
Look, one simple thing to this, like I was saying before, where we had interns come in or whatever, the whole point of the actor model is that you don't have to worry about any of those things. As you're coding, well, any engineer, because costs are expensive at companies, so you want to be able to get as much done so you can move on and not have to worry, have an abstraction there where you don't have to worry about any of the distributed problems that you're used to, as a traditional engineer, you're used to having to deal with. You really shouldn't have to think about those things.
We don't have that either, and we don't need to bring the actor model, which is where the problem is.
Yeah, it's not the only solution.
So, okay, this talk...
There might be another solution.
The purpose of this talk is to challenge the mind. When in the cloud, there are things that are out there, and how cloud actually behaves and operates. So based on this, the research and discoveries recently, so that's...
I see where you're going with the function thing. Functions, I mean, if you just look top-down functional, because I've done the Scala thing as well, it comes down to the implementation. Whoever implements below that has to be smart, like the Scala, the akka full frame or whatever. They have to be smart enough to provide those things you expect. Reactive system is you expect a certain thing in a certain amount of time. It has to provide that. The actor model is the way that we've chosen to go, which also provides a simple model for engineers to come and code against. They don't have to know how it's implemented underneath. Our architect understands, right? A couple of our senior engineers understand how it all works underneath, how all that scaling and stuff works. It's totally abstracted through our canonical abstraction. So is one right or the other? I think it's maybe outside the scope of this particular meetup, but yeah.
They complement each other. So if you go to level how we deal with event sourcing on a lower level and provide that, what you're talking about, of course, we would use approaching that you guys talking about. But the point here is, it's above. It's like we're talking about domain-driven design. We're not talking about event sourcing. Okay, entity has a state. How do you persist it? We have waves. Same with this. So, and event sourcing natural because the bloodstream of actor model messages, only messages, nothing else. Yes.
Totally different subject. So I am a big fan of actors, of the actor model, and I'm a big fan also on your side and serverless side. So my problem with actor models is that one actor needs to know the mailboxes of the other actors, right?
So one actor needs what?
To know the mailboxes of the other actors, right? Yes. So whereas when I work with something like a Kafka queue or event hub or whatever, right? I just put in another consumer step, pick up the message, and see if they need to do something with that message and go on. So have you ever come across those kind of challenges while you were working on something?
So we didn't touch it here, but there are such concepts for an actor model like acquaintances and the communication list. So acquaintances, so actor can only send a message to an actor he knows about. So that knowledge could come only through a few ways. One of them, introduction. So I either create child actor, hence I know its address. Actor always knows its children. Or I've been introduced to the actor where the messages came to me. And I use that address to do whatever I have to do.
But this only works as long as my state of actor state is available. So if the actor goes down for some reason, comes up again, it needs to be reintroduced to the new actor state.
If actor comes down, right, you can instantiate another actor. If it's a stateful actor, then basically the message that is sent is lost, which is in the cloud, is a standard thing to do. So lost message, you do the retries.
I'm totally okay. But let's say you have messages coming to an actor, and one of the messages, listen, there's other actors that you can't address, right? That you can't send messages. These are the new mailboxes. This is great for the actor because it holds the new message and the new mailboxes in its state, right? But as soon as something happens, like the node is just burning down, whatever, right? It's just not available. This message for the new mailboxes has to be either the store the state has to be restored, or the message has to be resent to the actor, right?
What would you do in real world? Like you send someone mail,
Yeah.
and person never responds to you, what do you do? Or whatever, failed, whatever you send there, lost. No, what I'm trying to say, what I'm trying to say is that you will always find a solution. So basically, you either resend, or you dispose that actor and create a new one.
Sure, there's always solutions. I'm not talking about this. What I'm saying is like, isn't it too hard-tighted to always know, to always make sure that the actor knows the other mailboxes? Whereas in other concepts where you say, I have an event stream kind of thing, I'm not talking about event sourcing event stream, but kind of Kafka event stream, and there's a consumer, and whoever listens to that consumer gets that message. So whoever the consumer is.
Okay, the concept of vector model has its whole mailbox. It's all about encapsulation. Nothing is shared outside. As soon as you have something out there, it's a synchronization issue. So, which this deals with, to not have to synchronize at all. So that's why they come in systems. There are some other actors that deal with that. Process managers that have the knowledge of what should be done when, how, and how fast.
And if they disappear, they know how to reconstruct.
Exactly. They know how to rebound.
So there's patterns. Yes. That's something we haven't touched on here. He did kind of touch on a little bit, but we rely on a set of key patterns of actors, right? Which is not evident from, if you just think actor for what you learned today, it may not be evident like how those things can be composed together in certain useful ways that are consistently always will effectively solve these problems.
I would say that actors come in systems, the most fundamental thing here, because that's where you understand that basically know that they have value when they
exist. It's not random systems.
Yeah, it's not random.
It's not random systems of just unique, a pool of things. It's ordered sets of things. Yeah. That's another talk, I think. We need to get into patterns. Question over here.
Could you speak a little bit about how actors interact with state?
With state?
Yes.
You mean behavior?
Well, the sort of persistence of it, how I think it's fine to say that actors don't have anything, I think you said they don't actually have anything?
No, they do.
They don't share.
They don't share the state.
They don't share.
Yeah.
Okay, if nothing shares anything, how does he get initially aware of it?
Aware of what? By message. Everything that actors knows about
So
comes.
where the messages come from? You know, there's a whole
definitely you.
something that persists.
Yes.
So how do actors interact with whatever persistent system you have?
Whatever the implementation is. Like in our what?
So it's customized to your needs, is that what you're saying?
Like persistence we choose. Basically.
Well, again, which state are we talking about, right? Are we talking about like how does an actor like remember?
Internal tick by tick.
Yeah. So I want to.
Initial set of information. You know, the whole lot's dying. You want to start.
Yes. How does the system come from scratch? Kind of thing? Okay.
And you know, you want to shut it down.
Right.
Persist it, stop it back up again. How does that interaction happen? It's in a broad sense.
Yeah. First, we follow the rule. Everything is an actor. So basically, even persistence we did asynchronously. So to the table storage proxy actors, they were doing that asynchronously. So basically, we decided to do that immediately from the actor itself, because of the time delays and some other issues we had. Because like in a service fabric, it's a RPC calls. Those are not messages, so to speak. They are basically awaitables. They are. It's not what real messaging system is.
So is it fair to say you implement an actor over the lowest level of I/O or something like that you wish to do?
Hence, we did our framework, the canonical actor recall. So we persist actors in the table storage for now. They're event stream in the source, so we persist them basically, and that's all about it.
Choices that how to go about that is independent of the how you design the
Choice of persistent mechanism is really up to you.
It's beneath the canonical layer. It's beneath the abstraction.
Yes. You have to implement that, of course, but it's only. Yeah, experts in event sourcing, they know exactly what is fastest, what is supposed to be.
So you would do these maps for choosing the choice of how to go about it. You would implement over a storage system that does that. and then you would have the rest of your system implemented in that.
Okay, here, when actor finishes this, so you got here, right? Pull the message. Message has information. And it has to be sufficient for the actor to make a decision to do one of the three things only.
Do you have any code?
I do, of course.
It'll be easier to see with code.
Well,
Yeah. Channel 9. Slow down.
so
Keep explaining this.
So basically, it has to calculate the behavior that is going to be after this message is processed. Chances are it's going to be the same.
In a general sense, I understand.
Yeah. So
What I
basically,
don't understand is where it gets the initial information from. And
from message.
you sort of, well, you don't get messages out of me, but you can't just work on that.
You bootstrap your system somehow.
Somewhere. You
Yeah.
must have implemented something to do that. And I suspect what you've done is you've taken, whatever I/O mechanism you've got and said, right, that's how I talk to this, a library call, an RPC, whatever the hell you chose.
We use-
And then you've implemented an actor over the top of that thinks this is a side effect, and then the rest of your system connects to it. Is that correct?
No. Well, so actors are first-class citizens in Service Fabric. So the idea is you build your system by composing actors together, and so long as you have, and just like,
It comes into existence because it's part of what you provide.
and you configure it in a manner, because you know how you want to configure your actors, and so long as you have all systems have an entry point. I think this is where this is coming back to, like, well, how does the thing start from nothing, right? Like, say a disaster happens, how do we bootstrap? So it has to be,
You provide that, is that what you're saying?
sorry?
Yeah, so I think the question is like the after activation circuit.
Well,
So the process of after
Yeah.
activation in Service Fabric.
yeah, in Service Fabric actor, that's why they call them virtual actors. They always exist. So you don't have to worry about the life cycle of an actor in Service Fabric, which is good and bad. So, second? So basically, we have, okay, they are activated by messages, right? They come through the API. We have an API layer that UI consuming.
It is a framework hook or special type of message, right? So can you...
No, okay, in Service Fabric, any actor call instantiates the actor. That's why they call it virtual. So you don't have to instantiate the actor before you call it. You just send it a message. And Service Fabric creates it for you, instantiates in memory for you. And then it receives the message.
It provides you a hook to iterate the state or something?
No, you do, I mean,
You just start using it. You start using it.
no, it's up to you. It's up to you to enter the state. So, yeah, actor does that.
And this is why we have our canonical abstraction, right? Because there's these bits and pieces of how the nuances of how Azure Service Fabric chooses to do these things. And there was a subtle kind of implication in your question too, which is, are we sort of stuck with Azure? No, because we have the canonical actor abstraction on it. Part of our strategy is to make sure that, I mean, we are Microsoft Gold partners, so we're not going anywhere soon, right? So, but the abstraction there allows us to work more in a more generalized actor methodology rather than purely what Azure's given us. Azure is, Service Fabric is new, it's new enough that they're still kind of shaking out the, they're beating the grass. As Jean likes to say, they're beating the grass to find if there's kind of...
You're confident that you can take the interface that you specify and implement something against many other things.
In short order, the code, our systems are built top down to the actor layer. We would perhaps have to do some tuning below that after abstraction if we were to try and switch off platforms. This is the classic vendor lock-in problem, right? But we're confident that we purposely invented this abstraction to allow for things like this. Yeah. Other questions? Back there.
So I'll just give some feedback. I really wish you would have taken time to talk about how DDD connects to Actor, because all I've got is message passing, and I've done a lot of stuff I didn't expect to come here tonight. I got a lesson on Actor, which is great, and if I knew that was the purpose of this meeting, I would have made a choice. But I made a choice to come today because I wanted to see how your business, your model, broke down your domain and then brought actors in to solve the problem. So if you want to go talk about that, then actually come to the DDD part of the meeting, I'd really like to go there. If not, perhaps we should getting tired of talking about arguing about active web back. It's not what this is now, as far as I'm concerned.
So that's good questions.
Okay.
Well, one thing I can add for background, I mean, perhaps, I know Microsoft does have usually like a pet store example for most of the approaches. So if there is something that is provided like Fabric that has an actor model that is kind of like open source that NSDN throws out there, maybe you can throw a link to that people can see. Here's ABC of a simple pet store example of actor model on Fabric on Azure.
Well, they have
exposing any of your IP.
no, they have virtual actors. They don't have.
An example solution built on top of, right? That's usually what happens with like NSDN documentation.
I think the second that we're willing to go with, revealing our canonical actor abstraction, I think absolutely that's something we can and should do. Right? And this goes towards the previous question about open source. Absolutely. Yeah, we can totally do that. Good. Well, we're definitely past time. Is there any other questions left over that we want to talk about? Anything? If not, you can hang around. We'll be around. We can answer more questions. But thank you very much for coming, and thanks, Sergey, for presenting.
SIA has started a new meetup for serverless. It's also, if you're interested in the Microsoft space, SIA's actually come here from Germany to do a lot of this awesome stuff come up here. So he's just started a trader and is an awesome source of info if you are interested, especially in Azure stuff too. So please make sure to ask him. And that meetup is going to be June 20th. June 20th. So take a look at that.
But it's serverless without Microsoft. So it doesn't matter if you're in Microsoft space or not. It's serverless. Just join.
And now someone pick a number between 1 and 50. Shout it out.
17.
All right.